All things happen.
We're on.
12,
Or,
13.
The speakers are on anyway, I can see them.
Sure you can. Oh, Mr. Hardy, you're on. Go ahead. You're gonna be quiet.
this time I'll call the 2021 Washington County Board of Supervisors Organization Meeting to order. Mrs. Clary, would you lead us in prayer?
Good afternoon, thank you. Dear Father, as we enter into 2021, please guide us. Help us stay the course in fighting the pandemic. Give us the endurance, the compassion, and care that is necessary to keep our communities whole. Thank you for our team of highway workers who crossed boundaries and helped each other and got rid of more snow than we could have ever seen in a long time. We thank them. And please, we pray for our local families and who have had unbelievable losses. We are all heartbroken. We pray that the EMS and the public safety crews can find peace knowing that their service is valued. Please keep them all in your grace. In your name, amen.
Thank you.
Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In case of fire or emergencies, there are 3 exits in this room, there, and there. In case of such emergency, please proceed to the nearest exit, find the nearest stairway, go down the stairway and exit the building and go far away from the building so emergency squads can do as they need to. Please silence your cell phone for this meeting. Thank you.
Okay, I'll now call the roll. Mr. Hankey?
Here.
Mrs. Fedler?
Here.
Mr. Ferguson?
Here.
Mr. Shaw?
Here.
Mr. Hall?
Here.
Mr. Losaw?
He's here.
He's here, okay. Mr. Hicks?
Here.
Mr. Ward?
Here.
Mr. O'Brien?
Here.
Mr. Half?
Here.
Mr. Campbell?
Here.
Mr. Skelly?
I just got a note, says his no internet just dropped him, he's trying to connect by phone.
Okay. Mr. Hogan? Mr. Wilson?
Here.
Mrs. Clary?
Here.
Mr. Griffith?
Here.
Mr. Rozell?
Here.
The first order of business will be the election of chairman of the board for 2021, and at this time I'll ask for nominations from the floor. Mr. O'Brien?
I'd like to nominate Sam Hall for chairman.
Is there a second to that nomination? Mr. Hicks, Mr. Campbell, Mrs. Clary, Mr. Wilson, Mr. Rozell, Mr. Griffith, Mr. Losaw, Mr. Ward,
Mr. Rozell, I think also.
Mr. Rozell,
I think so.
yes, and Mr. Ferguson,
And me.
and Mr. Hankey. Trying to, okay. Are there any other nominations from the floor? There being no other nominations, the motion to close the nominations would be in order.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. O'Brien, seconded by Mr. Wilson. All those in favor of closing the nominations signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. The nominations are closed. Now we will vote on the election of Samuel J. Hull as chairman of the board for 2021. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Carried. Mr. Hall, if you come to the front of the chambers, Judge Pritzker will administer the oath of office.
I just want to thank everybody for all the work you're doing during these times. And you're doing a heck of a job. Makes me very happy to live in Washington County, so thanks. So without any further ado, raise your right hand. I, Samuel J. Hall,
I, Samuel J. Hall,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of Chairman of the Board of Supervisors
of the office of Chairman of the Board of Supervisors
in and for the County of Washington,
in and for the County of Washington,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
I do further solemnly swear or affirm
I do solemnly swear or affirm
that I have not directly or indirectly
that I have not directly or indirectly
paid,
paid,
offered, or promised to pay,
offered, or promised to pay,
contributed, or offered to promise to contribute
contributed, or offered to contribute
any money or other valuable thing as a consideration
any money or any other valuable thing as consideration
or reward
or reward
for the giving or withholding a vote
for the giving or withholding of a vote
at election at which
at election at which
I was elected to said office. I was
I was elected to said office,
and have not made any promise
and have not made any promise
to influence
to influence
the giving
the giving,
or withholding
the withholding
of any such vote.
of any such vote.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Roger. Okay, Sam. So, you're going to sign here, okay? Let the record reflect that Sam Hall is signing the oath. Quite a signature there, Sam. Thank you, Judge. And I'm signing there. Deb, you have that there? And you're going to...
Yes, I'll sign it.
Okay. Anything further with Sam? We're all set? Okay, I'm going to retreat to my corner. Only one. Okay.
Thank you, everyone. And the next order of business would be the election of a vice chair. And do we have any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Robert Henke.
Mr. Hicks nominates Bob Hankey. Do we have a second? Dave O'Brien, Jimmy Griffith, Paul Ferguson, John Rozelle, Darrell Wilson, Sue Clary, Lester Losaw, Cassie Fedler, Brian Campbell. And I don't believe I missed anyone. Donna Ward. Are there any nominations from the floor? Are there any nominations from the floor? Are there any nominations from the floor? Hearing none.
Do we close the nominations?
Supervisor Hicks makes the nomination to close, seconded by Supervisor O'Brien, Supervisor Wilson, Supervisor Ward, Supervisor Fedler, Supervisor Ferguson. I think I got everyone. Okay, the nominations are closed. Now we'll do a vote. All in favor of Robert Hankey, Vice Chairman?
Well, we need to vote on closing the nominations, Deb?
Yes.
I apologize, let's vote on closing them. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Nominations are closed. All in favor of Robert Hankey for Vice Chair, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Congratulations. Hankey, would you like to step forward? Appellate Court Judge Pritzker will do the swearing in.
All right. Next to you, Bob. Congratulations. Thank you. Okay, so I, Robert A. Hankey, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States
That I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of Vice Chairman of the Board of Supervisors
of the office of the Vice Chairman of the Board of Supervisors
in and for the County of Washington,
in and for the County of Washington,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
And I do further solemnly swear or affirm
And I do solemnly swear or affirm
that I have not directly or indirectly
that I have not directly or indirectly
paid, offered, or promised to pay,
paid, offered, or promised to pay,
contributed or offered or promised to contribute
contributed or offered or promised to contribute
any money or other valuable thing
any money or other valuable thing
as a consideration or reward
as a consideration or reward
for the giving or withholding a vote
for the giving or withholding a vote
at election at which I was elected
at an election at which I was elected
to said office,
to said office,
and have not made any promise
and have not made any promise
to influence
to influence
the giving
the giving
or withholding any such vote.
or withholding any such vote.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm so glad you got the mask on, you can't see me giggling about that.
I was just gonna say, what I just said before, but I can't do that. I'm not allowed to do that, I don't wanna get in trouble. Here you go, Bob. Thank
Thank you, Your Honor.
Hey, congratulations. You're all set? We're all set, thank you. All right, thank you. All set, Roger? All set, Your Honor, thank you. Hey, good to see everybody, be well, be safe.
Thank you, Judge.
All right.
Thank you, Judge.
All right.
Okay, congratulations, Vice Chairman Henke. And we will now move on to the consideration of the resolutions.
Resolution number 1 by Supervisor Hall, title to fix bond of chairman and vice chairman.
I move that resolution. Do we have a second? Supervisor Henke, Supervisor Clary, Supervisor Wilson, Supervisor Campbell, Supervisor Fedler, Supervisor Ward, Supervisor O'Brien, Supervisor Ferguson. Any discussion? All in favor, signal saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 2 by Supervisor Campbell, title to pay Soil and Water Conservation District Board.
Moving resolution number 2.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell. Do we have a second? Supervisor O'Brien, Supervisor Henke, Supervisor Clary, Supervisor Fedler, Supervisor Griffith, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Losaw. Any discussion? All in favor, signal saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 3 by Supervisor Campbell, title appropriation, Washington County Extension Service.
Moving resolution number 3.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell. Do we have seconds? Supervisor Fedler, Supervisor Ward, Supervisor Clary, Supervisor Henke, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Griffith. Did I miss anyone? Any discussion? All in favor, signal saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 4 by Supervisor Campbell, title to designate depositories.
Moving resolution number 4.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell. Do we have seconds? Supervisor O'Brien, Supervisor Henke, Supervisor Ward, Supervisor Clary, Supervisor Fedler, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Griffith, Supervisor O'Brien. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 5 by Supervisors O'Brien, Hicks, Shaw, Ferguson, Losaw, title amend the rules of the Board of Supervisors Personnel Committee and codify their responsibilities.
Do we have a second?
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 5.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Supervisor Henke, Supervisor Wilson, Supervisor Ward, Supervisor Campbell, Supervisor Losaw, Supervisor Clary, Supervisor Ferguson. Any discussion? Supervisor Fedler.
It looks to me, besides changing the number of people that we're having on the committee, all department heads are going to be interviewed through personnel department now instead of the oversight committee as before?
No, it'll be in conjunction. It says working with the appropriate oversight committee. So it'll be in
Right,
conjunction with the, yep.
Okay.
Yes, Dan. Supervisor Shaw.
There, can you hear me?
I can
Okay,
now.
I support this resolution as far as I think you need to add 2 more supervisors to it. I've always felt that. But my concern is by adding more chairmen, you've actually created just a smaller, almost a subcommittee of the finance committee. I think that the other two should be added by the chairman as supervisors at large. And I think you would get a better overall feeling of the board. And I think it would be fair rather than just keep adding more chairmen and consolidating the way you're doing it now with the leadership. It's my opinion, and that's what I would hope that maybe you'd consider doing.
Okay, Dan. Supervisor Hicks.
Yeah, I believe that it was set up this way so that we could represent our employees. Before say that the chair of IT wasn't on there, well, we have IT employees, so that's why that person was added. So we were hoping that you have a chair of the committee and then the rest of the chairs of other committees which represent the vast majority of the employees of the county. That's why it was set up that way.
Okay.
Yes, but I mean, with all your different representatives that you have now, you still have enough representation for the employees. I think that you need more representation from the supervisors. And I'd be willing to make that a motion to have these last two be appointed by the chairman as supervisors at large, same as you did in the finance when you had those 2 years ago.
Any others, Dave?
I think that one of the things that we had was that when we did this back in 2013, when we put this together, is that what was ended up happening was personnel was actually being split up into multiple different committees. It was in government ops, it was partially in staffing, it was partially in finance. And the reason why we broke it apart was because finance got involved in so many things that it really wasn't getting to the personnel structure that it should have been. So that's why we purposely went for the committee chairs that had people working for them. I think the only one that is not here is that Ag and Planning only has one employee works for it, IT. IT was the one we added since 2013, and they have, I don't remember how many employees they have, 10 or 12. But we made that conscious. One of the things we also tried to do was one of the things we find is that sometimes you get these committees too large, and it's hard to get quorums. So I support the change. I wanted to make this change a couple of years ago, but I think we also have to be cognizant that we need to make sure we have quorums involved in this. And sometimes when you get a committee too big, you don't get quorum. So that's one of the reasons why we sort of limited to 7 within that. And I think there was also support from a lot of other supervisors over the years that the budget officer should be involved in. You were one of them, Dan, that budget officers should be involved in it also. So that's why the makeup of the committee came the way it is. So just explaining how the history was.
Doesn't any motion coming from this have to go to finance? That's what I was told last time when I brought that up. And if it does, if this resolution, I don't mean this one, but any resolution coming out of personnel for hiring has to go to finance. Is that correct?
Actually, the way it's set up is that the only thing that has to go to finance is anything that causes money. If we're just hiring a person and the money doesn't change, it's already in the staffing pattern, it doesn't have to go to finance and go to the full board. So the only things that really have to go to finance are the ones that deal with money expenditures.
So if you're going to make a hire and we're going to increase the salary or make a motion to increase the salary, that would go to finance.
Correct. If there's no change in the salary, it doesn't have to go to finance because it's already approved by the board.
That was my opinion, that you actually just have a mini finance committee meeting there. And that's why I thought it should be the chairman of putting supervisors at large on there. And I think it's a better move, but and I made the motion. If you don't get a second, when you call, if you don't get a call a second, then it's over with anyways.
Okay. Is there any further discussion before we call for the second? Do we have a second to Dan's motion, Supervisor Shaw's motion? Going once, going twice, going 3 times.
Thank you.
And so now we've had is there any further conversation on the original motion? Then this will be a roll call vote, please. Hold on, look, Dana, sorry. Supervisor Haff?
Cassie's comment about how this would change from interviews being done in specific subcommittees. Cassie, that's not how it's done now.
No.
And so I was told that the reason that we would add more people to this committee is so that it basically would allow whatever subcommittee has employees would have a vote on this committee. Because I think when interviews are done by the personnel committee and the vote to forward it to the full board, it's only the personnel committee that votes, not the subcommittee that's there to help. Am I correct?
Dave?
If it's my understanding, if it's a joint committee meeting, it's both committees vote.
Right.
I mean, that's the way it is when we've had other joint meetings with finances, both committees had to vote.
I don't think that was the way it was done just recently in personnel for the appointment of the probation department person. I don't think those people in public safety had a vote.
That's why we'd be changing it now so that they would be going forward.
Yeah, and that's a recommendation, not a, there's a difference. That's a recommendation because we can't appoint, that's the chairman's appointment.
Okay.
Yes, Cassie?
If I remember right, how we did it before was we interviewed through the committee and then it went on. I was
Well-
just worried about the wording in it, that it was still the committee, the oversight committee was gonna have an active part in.
That was a long time ago, Cassie. That was a
I
long,
thought it was going to be the personnel direct, or the chair of personnel was going to be doing the interviewing. And nothing against that, except for that I thought the oversight committee should be, you know, an integral part of it. And you've explained that they are supposed to be working together and interviewing jointly. It says the personnel committee will be responsible. That's where it caught me up. I just wanted to make sure
Yes.
both, and you clarified that.
Yes, okay, thank you.
to respond to Cassie, we have not done it your way in some time.
I think we did with DPW,
That was quite a while ago.
3 years.
And before that, when we hired Chris, it was actually the personnel committee that did that,
Right.
not the, so we're just trying to standardize this so there's no questions going forward. That's it.
Okay. Is there further discussion? If not, we'll call the roll call vote on this, please.
Mr. Hanky?
Yes.
Mrs. Fedler?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
No.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Losaw?
Yes.
Mr. Hicks?
Yes.
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mr. Haff?
Yes,
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Skelly?
I think we lost him.
Gone again.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Clary?
Yes.
Mr. Griffith?
Yes.
Mr. Rozell?
Yes.
That was a yes?
Yes.
A yes. The resolution is adopted, 2,775 yes, 150 no, 1,099 absent. That was a two-thirds vote. Resolution number 6 by Supervisors O'Brien, Hicks, Shaw, Ferguson, Losaw, titled to adopt the rules of the Board of Supervisors for 2021.
Mr. Chair, moving resolution number 6.
Moved by Supervisor O'Brien. Do we have a second? Supervisor Ward, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Losaw, Supervisor Campbell, Supervisor Henke. And have I missed anyone? I don't believe so. Is there any discussion? Supervisor Haff?
are there any other changes to this other than the composition of the personnel committee?
No.
No.
I have one more question. It says that the quorum is by the majority of the weighted votes, but I think that's for this meeting. Is that true for every monthly Board of Supervisors meeting? The quorum is by weighted vote?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, I didn't know that. I thought it was just number of heads.
Yeah, no, it's the way to vote.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Supervisor Henke, you had your hand up?
Just a comment on number 7. I know what that is. That's the, whether you're reading something just to get it into the record. I have this statement from a constituent of mine I want to read into the record. And I don't know that particularly clear. I think it probably is not going to have any large impact here, and it hasn't been all the time I know of, but it probably ought to include the language when the supervisor decides to read a statement into the record other than during debate.
Okay. Are we comfortable, Bob, are you comfortable with,
Yeah, I'm fine with passing. I just think
And then we amend it?
maybe we ought to think about looking at that.
okay. Any other comments? Any further discussion? All in favor, say by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 7 by Supervisors Hicks, Ward, O'Brien, Skelly, titled to appoint Daniel Belcher, Probation Director, Group A.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution 7.
Do we have a second? Supervisor Ward, Supervisor O'Brien, Supervisor Griffith, Supervisor Wilson, Supervisor Shaw, Supervisor Losaw, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Half, Supervisor Campbell, Supervisor Roselle, Supervisor Henke. Is there any discussion? Supervisor Fedler.
In the meeting and the interviews, we talked about it being a temporary appointment until the test is reached. Should we have words to that effect in the resolution?
No, because that's covered, Roger can touch on this, but that's covered by law because it's only provisional. Civil service covers that already. He has to pass the test before he can actually be appointed full-time in that position.
Okay, thank you for
So
the
at
clarification.
that point in time, we would have to do another appointment.
Okay.
Okay? Very good. So is there any other discussion? Supervisor Clary?
To follow up on Cassie's, does that mean that if he passes the civil service, he doesn't come back for applications of others?
No, it still comes back. You're making a temporary appointment until the test is given. You would have to pass the test and score in the top 3 to be eligible for that permanent appointment. At that point, you'd have to reappoint him or somebody else who qualifies under the rules.
Thank you for the clarification.
I apologize, Melissa, I didn't see you on there. I directed that question to you. I apologize for that. That's the way it goes, right?
Yes, it can work like that. I guess the way I'm reading the resolution is just appointing Mr. Boucher to the position, right? It doesn't state that it's temporary or provisional, which is fine. Because
Right.
that's actually just the civil service status. I guess if Roger says that you need another resolution for him to actually be appointed, this says that he's going to be appointed to the position. So unless you're going to take him out and replace him, I guess I don't know why you'd need another resolution, but Roger may know better.
Somebody would have to sign that paperwork, taking it from provisional to permanent. There'd be another appointment signed. The chairman, since he makes that appointment, would have to sign that paperwork. So at that point, the board could do another resolution and just like we are now, reaffirming the chairman's decision to do that. So that would be the time, if you wanted to make a change, that would be the time you could make a change. You have to make a change? No. If you're happy with what you have, you can just go ahead and proceed. But there would be an opportunity for a second bite at the apple whenever, we don't know when the test is going to be given, never mind scores, whenever those results came back.
Supervisor Roselle?
Well, in here it states who qualifies to succeed him. Without the civil service, he doesn't qualify, does he?
Yes, he is.
He does qualify for the.
Right, that's why he's coming back.
No, he qualifies because he is a probation supervisor. You have to have held the title of probation supervisor
Right,
in order to become probation director. So his qualifications, he does meet the qualifications.
right, but he's still provisional until he meets the test requirements and all that.
But all those steps are civil service steps along the way to validate an appointment. So that wouldn't change. The wording of your resolution wouldn't change the fact that those steps still have to be met. So therefore, wording it the way it does starts him down that journey towards the full appointment. That's a bad term, full appointment. He's the guy, no matter what. It's just ratifying it, making it permanent in the eyes of civil service.
Right.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Sue had a question.
Oh, Sue, I'm sorry. Oh, Daryl's got one as well. Go ahead,
Sam,
Sue.
I wanted to thank Mr. Boucher for sending in the letter to you on time and all of us receiving it. That speaks a lot. So thanks to him for doing that.
Thank you, Sue. And Daryl, that wasn't a question, right?
No.
No, I was prepared to vote.
Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. So that takes care of our resolutions. Supervisors, do any supervisors have any comments? Supervisor Campbell?
Yeah, just with the board meeting coming up the 15th, it's a quick turnaround. Thursday's finance meeting, so anything, if anybody's got something that's not on our radar that needs to get to finance, make sure you give me a call to make sure it's getting there, because we got 2 days to get ready.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, then moving from supervisor comments, I would like to appoint Sergeant at Arms as David O'Brien, Chaplain Supervisor Sue Clary, and committee assignments. I will get those finalized, and those will be forwarded electronically by close of business today. When you receive them, if you have any questions or you're interested in a committee you may not be on, please give me a call and we'll see what we can do about tweaking it. Is there anything else to come before this board at this point in time? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved by James Griffith, second by Cassie Fedler and Sue Clary and John Rozelle. Thank you, everyone, and be safe.